Hello, thank you all for coming and allowing me to present our case in this format. My name is Kelly McCall and I'm the applicant on behalf of Renaissance Homes. Today we are here to discuss our project and associated tree removal for 2800 Wembley Park Road in Lake Oswego. We originally applied for tree removal with this building permit back in September of last year. There were a total of 12 Type 2 trees proposed for removal. 10 for the new development, and 2 for landscaping purposes, with 10 non-invasive trees being retained and protected on the property. We had also prepared a mitigation plan for 12 trees to be planted on-site, so there would be a no net loss of on-site trees under this Type 2 permit. Here's the backstory on this application. The original application for this project was submitted for the city's review on September 1st, 2023, and proposed the removal of 14 trees. On September 20th, the city requested additional information after the city's arborist was able to visit the site and assess the trees for Type 2 removal criteria. These trees, shown in orange, were requested to be retained and withdrawn from the application. Tree 10136 is located in the right-of-way, and while our arborist had found it to be in poor condition, it is the opinion of the city's arborist that it is in fair health and suggested that since the surrounding trees were being preserved, it seemed that this tree could also be retained. The tree was withdrawn from the application and will be retained and protected. Tree 10087 is in generally good condition and a fairly prominent tree in the skyline. Its removal could have a significant negative impact on the smaller surrounding Doug firs across the asphalt driveway. The reason for removal was based on likely construction impacts to roots for the new home's foundation and retaining wall. The city asked if it was possible to tighten up the grading, reduce the length of the proposed retaining wall, and change the foundation plan in order to preserve this tree. Renaissance Homes then performed exploratory trenching in the root area under arborist supervision to see if any of this would be possible. This careful method of excavation uncovered several structural roots between 2 and 4 inches in diameter, located in positions which will allow them to be retained and bridged over. Renaissance Homes decided to alter the landscaping plan to reduce the length of the retaining wall. The foundation plan for the home was also re-engineered to allow structural bridging over the tree's roots. This tree was withdrawn from the application and will be retained and protected. The plans for this home are completely original. This build was designed specifically for this lot with a high focus on tree preservation. This lot is zoned R10 and has the standard setbacks and zoning codes associated with that zone. This lot also has an overlay, the Uplands R10 overlay, which includes additional criteria be met. The design was created specifically for this lot based on these additional standards along with tree preservation, including front yard setback averaging, the maximum permitted height regardless of slope, limitation on impervious surfaces, and side yard setback planes are reduced to 612 from 1212. The lot also has an irregular shape which makes this criteria difficult to achieve. Renaissance Homes developed this plan specific to this lot, the natural topography, accessibility, and of course, tree preservation. Let's briefly discuss some of this additional overlay criteria. Typically, the front yard setback in the R10 zone is 25 feet. However, the overlay requires a minimum setback of 40 feet, where the average home in the area is also set back 40 feet or more, which happens to be the case for this property. Due to the increased 40-foot setback, we are not able to use the area where the existing footprint is, shown in pink. The trees in this area have already acclimated to the existing foundation, so in theory, this would have been a more optimal building footprint for tree preservation. However, the code does not allow for this. The maximum permitted height, regardless of slope, is 30 feet. The height of the structure is 29'4", so the elevation cannot be raised much. The proposed stormwater management system is a set of StormTech infiltration chambers. The north corner of the site was selected for the infiltration chamber location because this is the natural low elevation of the site to allow gravity flow from the roof drain system. This location is not only critical to the system being functional, but it also impacts the least amount of trees because of its small footprint and amount of excavation required. The pervious paver system for the driveway may not exceed a 6% slope, which also locks in the house's finished floor elevation relative to the street. This is a statement provided by the civil engineer who designed the system as evidence to support that this is the most optimal location for the stormwater system in relation to tree preservation. Since the house cannot be raised any higher and the backyard slopes upward, this creates the need for the backyard and side yard to be regraded and safely retained to avoid any erosion or soil stability issues. In addition to the house being too close to the trees to provide adequate root protection, the retaining wall, excavation, and regrading required will negatively impact trees 10539, 10520, and 10455. Collectively, these construction impacts are all reasons for their removal. This is a view of the current backyard with uphill slope. The area between the front lot line and the nearest edge of the building footprint, shown in blue, shall not be covered by more than 30% of impervious surface. As part of this overlay requirement and the stormwater management plan, pervious pavers will be installed and make up most of the driveway and hardscaped walkways. As pavers cannot be installed with a slope exceeding 6%, this further illustrates why the house cannot be raised and why the issue of a gravity-fed stormwater management system is so critical. Side yard setback planes are 612, shown in blue, reduced from the 1212, shown in red. The green represents a percentage exception allowed by the code. Side yard setback planes must be compliant on all sides. Due to the lot's irregular shape and extended 40-foot setback, shifting the footprint of the house is not an option because it would not be in compliance with the code. One of the goals for this project was to create a safer driveway approach. A new driveway approach is being proposed and the permit for the work has already been approved and issued. The work will require the removal of 4 Type 2 trees included on this application. The new driveway will provide safer access to the site with increased visibility and a better orientation to the main road. The existing approach at the lot line is 37 foot 5 inches and exceeds current development code criterion. The proposed driveway will be reduced to a maximum of 30 feet at the property line as required. This means we are actually shrinking the driveway width by 7 feet 5 inches. In addition to creating a more practical driveway, I also wanted to take this opportunity to address how our application complies with all of the Type 2 criteria. Here are some of the qualifying Type 2 criteria. Type 2 criteria number 1, reason for removal. New development and new landscape plans. Criterion is met for both landscaping and development purposes. The trees at the front of the lot proposed for removal have been severely pruned back for utility line clearance and are rated in poor condition by a track certified arborist. Type 2 criteria number 2. There will be no negative erosion, surface water, or windbreak impacts. The city's contract arborist, in their professional expertise, is looking for wind-throw effects that may arise from the removal of these trees, made an on-site inspection, and considered the specific trees in question, and found that the removal of tree 10087 would have a significant impact on the protection of adjacent trees. But the applicant withdrew this tree from the application. With the retention of 10087, the city's contract arborist found that the trees do not provide protection for the other adjacent trees or act as a windbreak. Based upon the evidence presented to date, removal of the original 12 trees, considering proposed mitigation measures, would not have a significant impact on erosion, soil stability, flow of surface waters, or the protection of adjacent trees. Staff agrees and finds criterion 2 is met. Type 2 criteria number 3. There are no negative impacts to neighborhood character or aesthetics. Only 9 of the 12 trees met all 3 criteria to potentially be considered a significant tree. These trees are healthy, over 15 inches in diameter, and non-invasive. These are the trees shown in bright red on the map. Accordingly, these 9 trees were examined by staff to determine if one of the sub-elements of this category is met, and therefore would be deemed a significant tree. Staff found that based on all the evidence submitted to date, none of the 9 eligible trees qualify as a significant tree. Here are the qualifying significant tree criteria. Are the trees significant to the neighborhood due to size? No. The Commission has interpreted this element to require examination of the neighborhood in which the specific tree is located. For example, a 45-inch tree is significant to a neighborhood where the general ranges of sizes of other trees is substantially smaller, such that the 45-inch tree would be substantially taller or bigger than most of the trees in the neighborhood. However, a 45-inch tree would not itself be significant to the neighborhood, where it is within the general range of sizes of other trees and is not substantially taller or bigger than most trees in the neighborhood. For a tree's size to be significant to the neighborhood, its absolute size without comparison is irrelevant. The arborist report lists the range of diameter measurements on the property and adjacent property from 6 inches to 43 inches. Staff used the on-site and neighboring property tree populations as representative trees in the neighborhood. The subject 9 trees, ranging from 18 to 32 inches, are of a median size comparable to the neighboring trees. Further, following an on-site visit and observation of the general neighborhood surrounding the site, the city's contract arborist found that the 9 trees are of average size or smaller relative to the trees in the neighborhood. Based upon the evidence submitted to date, including the arborist tree size listing and the city's arborist findings, this sub-element of size is met because the 9 trees reviewed for this sub-element are not significant to the neighborhood due to size. Are the trees significant to the neighborhood due to species? No. The Commission defines the criteria as not generally found within the species of trees in the neighborhood, or a rare tree species within the neighborhood canopy that contributes to defining the neighborhood character and aesthetics. For example, a Douglas fir proposed for removal in the neighborhood of Doug firs is not unusual or significant to the neighborhood because of its species. None of the trees on site are on the Lake Oswego Heritage Tree List, so any consideration for significance as per species is based on the interpretation stated above. Based on a site visit, the city's contract arborist found that the 9 trees requested for Type 2 removal are common species and of average size relative to the trees in the neighborhood. None of the trees are unusual or rare in this neighborhood, and this sub-element of species is met. Are the trees significant to the neighborhood due to distinctive character? No. The tree may meet this sub-element if it is in a uniquely visible location and provides a defining characteristic to the neighborhood. Other qualifiers include visibility of unique foliage, color, or canopy shape. None of the 9 trees provide distinctive characteristics to the neighborhood based on this criteria. Is the tree the only remaining tree on the property? No. None of the 9 trees reviewed for this element would be the only remaining tree on the property, as there are 22 other trees on the property being retained. Based on the evidence submitted to date, none of the 9 trees qualify as a significant tree per these elements. Will the proposed tree removal alter distinctive features or the neighborhood skyline? No. The trees proposed for removal are visible from the street. However, there is abundant foliage behind the property that fills in the skyline. The neighborhood skyline as a whole will not be significantly affected. The city's contract arborist stated, based on a site visit and observation from the skyline from the neighborhood, that with the proposed retention of a dense group of tall mature Doug firs, the proposed removals will not alter the distinctive features or continuity of the neighborhood skyline. This criterion is met. Staff did an excellent job in their report going over what constitutes a stand of trees and how this criteria is clearly met. The proposed removal will equate to approximately 0.04% of the existing stand. We provided a mitigation plan for all 12 trees to be planted on site. This is a 1-to-1 ratio for all of the original 12 trees being proposed for removal, so there would be a no net loss of on-site trees under this Type 2 permit. We believe the applicant should have the right to build within the allowable building envelope on the property as permitted within the zone. The building plans we have submitted have been approved by planning staff and all associated departments. The DRC has also approved this project in a unanimous fashion. There is no other dwelling configuration that would allow the property owner to fully develop the property as permitted in the zone and protect these trees from removal. They would decline or die due to construction impacts. On behalf of Renaissance Homes, I ask that you please agree with staff and the DRC in denying this appeal and allow us to move forward with our project. Thank you.